Welcome back to Molon Lave Wargaming. This is War in the Pacific Admirals Edition, set up for the December 25th turn for my play-by-email campaign against my anonymous allied opponent. We'd left off with a little bit of bad news on the last turn. They're flying probably a Marine Corps SBD-1 squadron out of Rabaul, so we're starting to face merchant attrition there once again. Meanwhile, we still don't have enough forces to outright take the base from the defenders, mostly due to the defensive bonus that they have in the hex. That's a jungle hex, so it's highly defensible. We also saw a lot of enemy air losses, but we failed to capitalize on those losses with really any airstrikes of our own. So getting into today, we're hopefully looking at a change of fortune in that weather forecast for most of the key areas is looking pretty good. So I think we're going to be able to fly those strikes. Moving on to the exact setup for the turn. Here in China, we still have contact on these Hong Kong escapees, and our surface task force, these rather small ships, they still have ammunition. Some of them even have a couple torpedoes left, so we can keep the pressure on them. Meanwhile, we have cleared out the minefield from Hong Kong. I had this amphibious task force sitting right outside waiting for that to happen, so they're going to go right in and start loading up. Which division is it? The 38th Division. And then they're going to go directly across the South China Sea right to Lingayen, so they can take part in the siege of Clark Air Base. We had a significant battle over here at Wuchang last turn. We turned this away, but we did not cause major casualties in the process. You can see they have 37,000 troops here, up against, like, what do I have? It's not anywhere near that much. Is load cost the same as numbers? I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. So I have 8,000 infantry plus 5,000 support troops. So I'm pretty badly outnumbered here. I do have the defensive advantage. I have fortifications at level 4, which is pretty significant. So that's why we were able to prevail. I'm going to continue to allow these reinforcements to move in. These guys are just about across. Actually, I'm going to switch these over to combat so we don't accidentally trigger a shock attack. Do that here too. Yeah, shock attacks are pretty normal when you do a river crossing. It might not happen in this case because I have, I control the hex, so I have enough of a foothold on the hex that it might not trigger, but I don't want to take a chance, especially since we turned them away. We're continuing to have bombers concentrate on these guys. There's really nothing more important for my bombers to be doing. Down here on the coast, we won a battle here, which freed up these units to basically make their way to Wenchao. So we're going to take the good road around to here, meet up with this engineer regiment, and then start moving east to make a move on Wenchao. Also have an armored car company over here, and a regiment of infantry at Chuxin. All of these guys can start making their way to Wenchao, so we'll be able to get that base fairly soon. We're starting to get a little bit of a concentration of armor up here, so in the coming turns, I'm probably going to look to start sending armor down this road. Lanchao in particular is a concerning base, and it's because of these river crossings. You can see it's surrounded by river on these two sides, and then this road that goes into Lanchao is through the mountains. So at Kungchain, that route to Lanchao can be very well protected. So speed and surprise might be the key to taking Lanchao, which is why I'd like to see if I can get an armored assault going on this road. I actually didn't notice this during my initial setup, but I'd have all 3 divisions that I wanted here to begin this move forward, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So these guys are ordered across. I mentioned before, I'm expecting Nanyang's probably my preference for where these guys are going to end up, to cut off the supply lines, both to these bases and to these forces over on the south. There's a fairly large concentration of enemy troops here. Maybe this is going to take priority over getting to Nanyang. I want to make the river crossing first before I start coming down, though. So either way, that initial move is the same. I am taking some forces out of this area to reinforce Wuchang. Having this guy here is concerning, but if he wants to make a river crossing into Xinjiang, even if I'm moving, I don't know, it looks like I might be set to pull 400 AV out. That still leaves another, set these guys to combat in case that happens. That still leaves another 800. Actually, a lot of these guys need to be set to combat mode. Yeah, so we're ready to take these guys on if they make that crossing, even though we're outnumbered. Another space with level 4 fortifications. It's a wooded hex, and therefore pretty defendable. And they've got the river crossing going against them, so that's not going to go too well for them if they want to take us on right away. Oh wow, they've got another concentration here. So they've got 100,000 troops sitting outside Xinjiang. Whew. Yeah, so almost certainly this, we're going to have to detour. Maybe what we'll do is we'll take Nanyang first, cut off the supplies, and then just head straight down to participate in this battle. But adding 3 of my own divisions to that is going to help turn the tide to whatever's about to start happening there. These guys aren't going to put up much resistance. We can kick that door down. So that'll get us in behind, possibly in position to take Xi'an. That's going to do it for China. Not anything going on in Burma and Thailand other than that I'm going to attack this pitiful unit that came into Tavoy. No big deal there yet. Tanks haven't arrived yet, so we still have to wait on them before we can send them up the road. Over here in Malaya, I've alleviated some of the overcrowding here at this airbase. I took a 0 squadron out and moved them down to Kuantan. There was also a recently upgraded unit of Oscars that I moved in, so 77th Sentai Detachment Bravo. That's 12 more Oscar 1 Charlies, so those are the good Oscars. They're going to be participating in sweeps on Singapore. So between... I should also mention, we have 2 task forces bringing in aviation support battalions coming right down. The lead one of these has been assigned a long-range cap from Kuantan's fighters in case enemy torpedo bombers decide to go after them. So between the sweeps and escorting assignments that are coming out of here, so it's most of the Oscar 1 Charlies on sweep duty along with a few zeros. 1 Alphas and 1 Bravo Oscars are on escort duty, and then we have zeros back here. The few that are left behind are also on escort duty for the Nels in particular. So basically the Sallies are picking up, should, if it goes according to plan, picking up Oscars on the way to Singapore from Kuantan, while the Nels should have 0 escorts from their point of origin. Now, between the sweeps and the escorting strikes, I think we've got enough to handle the fighters that are going to be here, especially with the numbers we've been seeing in recent turns. They officially, based on recon, have 50 fighters left. What we've been seeing in the air has been substantially less than that, and I think it's safe to say that a lot of these fighters that we're detecting are probably down for maintenance. And I'm saying that because of the number of AVG P40 variants that have been getting shot up during these missions but haven't crashed. So a lot of them are going to be in the hangars. So with any luck, these Sallies are going to come through and they're going to start doing some real damage. Alright, and if you see a little glitch on the screen there, that's because I noticed that the Lilies were assigned to a close air support mission, essentially, which isn't that important at the moment. So they've been reassigned to hit Singapore's airbase, too. We're going to go ahead and attack these guys with their tanks while the rest of these infantry are catching up. Not too concerned about that. Here in Temelo, these guys are still quite fatigued, so they're just going to wait. No need to push there, especially when we've got armor and infantry about to catch up with them on these major roads to the side. If I need to send somebody over, I can. I mentioned during the post-turn analysis that I needed to make a decision about Mersing, and I have. Mersing it's not happening, so I'm disembarking these troops at Kotabaru. I'm going to pack them up into strategic mode and rail them down to Temelo, and we're just going to take it from there. From Temelo, it's just one hex of movement to get them onto a major road again, and they'll be moving as they should. If during the time it takes them to disembark and pack up, maybe by then Kuala Lumpur will be packed up, or will be captured, and we'll have a rail line open to them. That's fine. I can rail them on further than that. But right now, the main benefit of going to Mersing is to prevent retreats. These guys aren't retreating anywhere. It's too late for these guys to retreat. It's too late for these guys to retreat. There may be some enemy troops in these bases. Maybe they get back to Singapore. I don't know. But I don't see any benefit, really, of trying to prevent further retreats, especially when we're potentially facing 39 bombers escorted by as many as 50 fighters. Not worth it. Taking a look a bit further down, we still have airstrike orders on Palembang's port from Kuching, and it looks like we're still seeing some ASW squadron activity around Batavia. We have Zeros escorted to escort these Nels, so whether they hit the port at Palembang or whether they try to attack some of these task forces, they should have escorts, and I would expect that would probably just be 6 Zeros because I put 30% on cap. Yeah, so I would expect that 6 Zeros, even if they run into opposition, like they're going to be Buffaloes, and Dutch Buffaloes, even in relatively large numbers, shouldn't be able to handle 6 Zeros. At least that's the plan. In Luzon, so our land forces here have basically faced the most intense fighting in Luzon so far. You can see fatigue is an issue. So they're taking today off. As much as I'd like to get to Manila, it doesn't make sense with these troops so tired. So they're going to get a day. During that day, this tank regiment should be able to move up the major road and join them, so we'll be further reinforced. And of course, this tank regiment's going to hopefully finish off this enemy unit here. Worst case scenario for us, we end up with a few badly broken enemy troops hiding in the jungles, like maybe up in these roads or whatever. I think as many times as this enemy unit's been defeated, they're no threat to my base forces, so I don't need to worry about that if they end up behind my lines. The light bombers here, the ANs, they've kind of outlived their usefulness, so I'm probably going to move them out soon, but for now, I want to see if I can take out these ships at Port and Clark. the rest of the Army bombers are going to be pounding Clark's Air Base. This seems to be where the P-39s are flying out of. I think they've got B-17s operating out of here too. So we'll give them another hit. We still have Nels and Bettys out of Takao assigned to hit Manila's port. Time's running out for these guys, though, because I'm probably just going to take 1 day off for these troops over here at Cabanatuan. So yeah, Manila, I mean, those troop numbers are pretty low, so that's going to be a pretty easy target. Further south, Cagayan's going to hold on for another turn. No need to attack with us having fatigue and disruption from the last attack that didn't necessarily go anywhere. But we've got these units about to arrive. Probably another 2 days for him, single day for him, 2 days for him. Looking at the Dutch East Indies, this covering force, there's nothing going on in the Cell of the Sea anymore. So I've just ordered these guys to come down, and they're basically going to take over as the covering force for this task force. Meanwhile, the battleship task force, which had been the heavy task force guarding here, is going to go ahead and shell Ambon. Yeah, afterwards they'll rearm at Babel, and these guys might be headed to the truck Rabaul theater of operations after that. Carrier Division 2 is sticking nice and close. I'm expecting a possible naval response, maybe from Surabaya, maybe from Darwin, so we're going to be looking. I mentioned at the end of the setup last turn that they haven't detected either of these carrier task forces yet, so if they are sending naval forces in, they're going to be in for a route surprise. These guys, meanwhile, have been fully detected, so they have every reason to send somebody in. And part of the reason I'm proceeding to shell Ambon with these battleships is because it's a size 4 airbase. They've already got 15 aircraft present, and they may try to fly in more to deal with this situation here, since they probably have a pretty good idea where these guys are going. Of course, I could still be facing airstrikes from Kandari. 8 hexes is going to be a little too much for, say, a Dauntless. Probably too much to carry torpedoes if we're talking about like Wildebeest or Swordfish, that sort of thing. But they could send medium bombers in numbers. And that might open up an attack for somebody else to do more damage. So, one of the fighter squadrons from the mini KB has been assigned specifically to provide fighter cover for this task force. They're not going to get all the way to Ambon on this turn. They're going to make it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, maybe they will. So they'll be here in the morning and then basically here by afternoon. So yeah, that's not bad at all. So between them here and then Carrier Division 2 sitting right out here, we'll have fighter cover over Ambon, and we'll have naval strike capability for any ships that show up. So that's looking really good there. And if that's the Enterprise and Lexington coming up through here, we should have fighters in about equal numbers. Actually, we'll have more fighters with these guys, but since these are quads, there's going to be a quality difference. Of course, a lot of the American fighters at this point are still Buffaloes. We should have a numbers advantage overall with fighters, if not a quality advantage, and we'll absolutely outnumber them in terms of attack aircraft. So that's probably not going to go too well for them. Plus, we have surveillance all over the place. Well, they probably do too. Not necessarily an advantage there. Main Keto Butai's staying put. I'm moving them a little bit just to shake their detection level. This heavy cruiser task force finished with ammunition still on board. One of the ships in particular barely fired at all. So I'm going to have them attack again, maybe damage some of these ships a little bit more. Then I'm going to let them fall out, and then next turn I'll order them to recombine with the KB, so they'll probably move like 8 spaces towards Rabaul. So they'll end up short of here, 13, 12, 11, 10. So they'll probably end up around there. So they won't have very far to go to rendezvous with the KB. So that'll work out just fine. And the cruiser that detached did arrive and combine with the KB. I think that's probably the Chikuma since it has so much system damage. So this is the guy that tried to find the Queen Victoria and did not. Last thing I want to mention, the Tayo has taken on the Claudes from Malolap, however we pronounce that. Meloep. Whatever. I've assigned these guys to strafing missions, so I'm going to try to get whoever this is. And then I'll probably just spend one turn trying to do that. If we don't get them, then we can just send these guys back to Tokyo as originally planned, get them upgraded to zeros, and come back. It really should be the Nels here that are getting this job done. They have the correct orders. The settings all look fine to me, except one pilot is not active. Fix that now. Yeah, I don't know why that they're just sitting there when they have valid targets. It might suggest to me that these are actually really small ships, and maybe the Nels don't consider them important enough. Maybe. In my mind, they're not doing anything else, so they might as well. So, with any luck, we'll have some major airstrikes going on here off the Australian coast, Singapore, Luzon, and we'll have a lot to talk about for Christmas. So, we'll see you for the combat replay. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas, everyone. December 25th combat replay underway. We've got our first American submarine off the coast of Japan. Takes a shot at a Kaibokan and misses. Oh, what have we here? So we just encountered an enemy task force, and it looked to me like I saw a sub on the map in that position. This might be that task force they mentioned. Alright, so American seaplane tending destroyer up against patrol boat and 3 cargo ships. So we really don't have any warships present here. An AVD is barely worthy of that name. And so far, it looks like the AVD's getting the worst of it. Taken at least 2 hits already. Yeah, even our cargo ships seem to have enough firepower to get hits on this. It's kind of funny. think our PB's taken 2 4-inch gun hits and hasn't even caused a fire. Well, number of hits is the same on both sides. Well, it was 4 to 3. Not exactly big guns. Alright, so we've got heavy cruisers of ours bombarding Batangas. I think it's probably too late. I think all ships have been evacuated at this point. Yeah, we're not hitting any ships, so I think that's probably going to be the last of these bombardments targeting enemy ships suspected to be in port. Well, in the Philippines anyways. It's because that's exactly what's going on here at Cairns. And we hit nothing. Ambon's more of a bombardment to neutralize aircraft. There were bombers here. I don't know, maybe he pulled them out. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, look at that. There were SBU Vindicators there. Not bad. So this ended up being a pretty good bombardment with this many planes disabled. Enemies sent ships up the coast to bombard our airbase. I don't expect destroyers are going to do all that much damage, but it is a crowded airbase, so we'll see. So they did destroy 1 or 2 Oscars, damaged a few others. So that was an AKL of ours that just sank. That was damaged at Rabaul on a previous turn. Coming ashore at Ambon. Ah, damn. Those are some pretty sizable coastal defense guns. Alright. 2 hits on a destroyer tender. Maybe somebody escaping from the Philippines area, although we'd think we would have saw them before they got this far. So that's a kill. Oh, what have we here? Well, so I had that theory that the Lexington and Enterprise might be coming through the Arafura Sea. So we actually have a carrier task force versus a carrier task force. Fortunately, mine has 2 battleships, and his does not. Just some heavy cruisers, probably. So I'd say we have the firepower advantage here. I'd also say neither of these task forces is going to be too interested in actually fighting this out. So they'll be disengaging as soon as they can. Yeah. Well, let's see who's in the task force. Lexington and Enterprise confirmed. 4 total heavy cruisers, 1 light cruiser, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 destroyers. They're saying we're withdrawing. may have to back our submarines off of Pearl a little bit. Lots of PBY attacks. Alright, got an airstrike sweep on Manila. Boo. Just P-40s, been seeing a lot of P-9s and even P-38s lately. So it's a little bit unexpected. And they are kicking our ass. We've lost 3 zeros already. Alright, finally evened it up. Wow. That was just pathetic. So 4-3 in our favor in the end. This early in the war, it should not be that even. Not happy at all with that. But at least we cleared the skies, so any bombers that decide to fly should get through. Alright, add one more P-38 to the kill tallies for today. Well, our heavy cruisers didn't manage, our heavy cruisers failed to find any ships in port, but our bombers are not having any such problem. Seeing hits on both light and heavy cruisers. No one confirmed to be sinking, but heavy damage on all of these except for the AGP, and I don't really care about the AGP all that much. Was a partial strength airstrike. I hope we've got more on the way. Ooh, big airstrike on Clark. No enemy planes coming up to meet him. Alright, getting planes destroyed and damaged on the ground. Have a look. Only one plane confirmed destroyed. But between the fires on the ground and that we have 50+ base hits, I'd say that was a successful strike. Helps that the weather isn't bad. And we're not done yet. If memory serves, these guys are attacking the port. Yes, and they do not hit anything. Life difficult for the enemy in Wuchang. Just one combat squad disabled, nothing great. This strike is just to try to slow them down. Shocked we have not seen carrier versus carrier airstrikes, considering we ran into each other. Oof, this might hurt. Or they could just turn around and run. That could happen too. Will the Hudsons run? Yes. Oh, we have Wildcats and Dauntlesses. F4, F3s. Interesting. Yeah, there's the P-39s. Surprised we didn't intercept them. Oh yeah, by all means, guys, don't attack the enemy carriers that are right in your face right now. Yeah, this could be good. Yeah. That was pretty insignificant. Getting rid of Minesweeper is helpful. I kind of know not to expect much from these strikes. Hey, there's one. Hey, they're carrying fuel, too. So that'll burn real nice. Ah, shit. Alright, well, the Wildcats here managed not to hit my Bettys. I mean, we got away with it. That could have been really bad. So this basically means we really need a bombardment, possibly with air cover. Yeah. Quite a bit of resistance here. Maybe we can blame that destroyer bombardment on us not being able to get any sweeps here before this strike. Yeah, this has the potential to be bad. Just too many enemy fighters here for the number of escorts available. Yep, here we go. Get through. Or you can abort. I'm fine with an aborted mission at this point. Well, we lost 7. And we got nothing for it. There's ships all over the place and they just did a port strike. Okay, so the enemy unit, these Mabels, have been bombing in this space adjacent to Cagayan, which might be Butuan. They're in Cagayan now, so they made it, but our reinforcements have also arrived, so too late for them. Second strike on Carnes, that's good news for us. There we go. Lots of non-penetrating armor hits out here. Now we're getting some through. Yeah. Nice. Pretty sure the Adelaide's done for. The Pensacola doesn't look like it's in great shape either. Oh yeah. Oh, this strike was devastating. Alright, so confirmed that this minesweeper sunk, confirmed that the Adelaide is sunk. Pensacola took 10 bomb hits. And that's the only heavy cruiser that took hits, and given that they seem to prioritize the heavier hits, that probably means that the other heavy cruiser that was here is sunk. Ah, here we go. At long last, do we get the Lexington and Enterprise? Not much of a cap up. I think I said before, transferring your fighters off of a carrier to engage in combat from land bases is a little crazy. I think my comments in that regard are being validated right now. Just 4 Buffaloes left, standing between 56 strike aircraft and enemy carriers. Come on. Shit. There we go. Good hit on the Lexington. Multiple hits on Lexington. Come on, just don't go after the cruisers. Not worth our time. Oh, come on. Now a destroyer? Come on, there are 2 carriers there. There we go. Torpedo hit on Enterprise. Followed by a bomb hit. Ammo storage explosion. Yes! Okay, so Enterprise is definitely disabled. Two more flight deck penetrating bomb hits on Enterprise. We are losing a Kate for our trouble. The Buffaloes got to our bombers on the way out. We lost 2 Kates. Plus at least 4 aircraft shot down by flak. So neither carrier is reported with heavy damage. Heavy fires on both, though, so I mean they're not conducting flight ops, that's for sure. Yeah, definitely need to finish these guys off, but it's looking good. It's looking real good. And this was just Carrier Division 2. The Mini KB is still standing by, and they have a bunch of Kates aboard, so we may not be done yet. Oh, damn. We're losing Kates trying to get their B-17s. Yeah, I don't know if that was worth it. We at least damaged a B-17, but we lost 2 Kates. Alright, now it's our turn. So they're going after the mini KB, it looks like. Since there's quads defending. Our cap's got numbers, it's looking good. Bad. Shot down 13 bombers so far. Guess it's just going to come down to, did we spot them in time? Alright, 13 enemy aircraft get through. Come on, yes. Alright, so it was a bit of a nail-biter there. They had some opportunities to get some hits. But I think being attacked by fighters is a major determinant of bomber accuracy, and these guys were getting attacked by fighters the whole way through. Plus, there's a significant amount of flak, you know, thanks to a battleship being in formation. So, I believe that was 12 SBDs lost to the cap. Along with 5 TBDs lost to the cap, and then 1 of each to flak. I gotta say, I'm happy these guys are arriving second. Because if they had worn down the cap ahead of time, we might be looking at more bombers getting through. More of the carrier-based bombers getting through. Yeah, it's pretty good. A single 0, shooting down 2 of 3 bombers coming in on sink-away. Oh, second wave. Zeros are angry. Yes. Imagine how different this would be if they actually had fighter support. Well, 15 enemy planes show up, 15 into the drink. Think we've got a few extra aces today. Oh, listen to that. Ship sinking. I wonder who that might be. Well, I guess it could be just about anyone since we pounded the hell out of Carnes. And there goes one of ours. Getting some ships shot up at Ambon at this point. I don't really care. I'm so happy about getting the carriers. Alright, on to ground combat. This will be an easy win. Or not. What's going on here? So I think it was just the armored units that were attacking, and the rest of the units present here just arrived and didn't yet have attack orders. So that's why we don't see a whole lot happening. Although we're taking troop casualties and not vehicle casualties. A little confusing. Automatic shock attack from crossing the river. Nothing we can't handle. We pay a bit of a price, but clearly nowhere near the amount of casualties we're inflicting. Take care of this Philippine Army Infantry Battalion that's been giving us a little bit of trouble. Enemy unit that came into Tavoy is taken care of. Unfortunately not completely destroyed. Bombarding in Rabaul, and we end up with the worst of it. Reflexive bombardment attack by the enemy at Ambon does nothing. And you can see we have far greater forces than the enemy does. 3-to-1 odds, basically. Enemy bombardment coming in at Rabaul. 14 squads disabled. Jeez. Yeah, I absolutely need to send battleships there with carrier support. And, you know, with the American carriers crippled, possibly sinking, I'll have carriers available to do just that. Alright, now time for the post-turn analysis for the Christmas Day turn. And what a present I got today. Wow. So point totals for the day aren't that huge compared to previous turns. We're seeing significant upticks thanks to significant army casualties, significant ship losses, significant aircraft losses. Aircraft losses is obviously going to be one of the most interesting things to look at today. We're seeing a lot of air-to-air kills on enemy bombers. What we aren't seeing that would be really noteworthy is a lot of operational or ground losses. And the relatively low numbers of those actually tells us that the enemy carriers probably did not sink. If they sank, they would have sank with a whole lot of planes aboard. So, like, we've got ground losses for Seagulls, so that's 1 or 2 cruisers sinking. We know these were destroyed in bombing missions on land bases. Again, these would be bombing missions on land bases, but not none of these ground or operational losses are happening with carrier-based aircraft. So yeah, they're still floating. They're burning. They're not going to be launching any aircraft anytime soon. but they're not on the bottom yet. Just looking at our losses really quick, we paid a little bit of a price in terms of Kates today. Kind of got cap trapped a little bit at Singapore, so that cost us a bunch of Nels. Not really a whole lot to complain about, though, because we absolutely destroyed them in the air today. Doing pretty good in terms of ship losses. They did take out 2 of our cargo ships. I think one of these sank around Rabaul and the other was probably around Ambon. But we're getting credit for the Portland sinking, so that would have been one of the 2 heavy cruisers at Cairns. I think the other one that was there is the Pensacola, and that ship seems like it's done for as well. And then also getting credit for the Adelaide, plus Minesweepers. And how do we get credit for the Pompano at Wake? Yeah, that's not real. This Minesweeper's real enough, though. So all around, just a really, really good turn for us, in spite of what could have been a bit of a disaster over at Singapore. Don't normally look at the alerts, but I think it's worth looking at this time around. We are having the Repulse struck off the list. I suspect this might be because maybe it was sighted when we bombed Singapore. Possibly. That'll be worth checking the native operations report. It might have that detail in there. 2 aces, including an ace in a day. One from Soryu, one from Hiryu. So that's pretty cool. You can ignore these groups to withdraw. That's just detachments that started from the beginning. Yeah, I think that's all we need to note there. Alright, so looking around the map for the conclusion of the post-turn analysis, we have, wow, 7 enemy submarines all hanging out in the same hex. So this is going to warrant a response. I already do have, let's see, what is this? Light Bomber Squadron that's been assigned to ASW duty. I really don't have a lot of ASW trained pilots yet. With the average skill level of 47, these might actually be some of my best, and that's not very good. But it's better than nothing. Definitely going to be diverting more ASW assets to deal with that. It's 7 enemy subs. That's a huge concentration. China's probably still looking pretty good. I mean, we still have this unit that's concerning us here, but they didn't attack this turn. We've got more opportunities to get reinforcements in. Really not a whole lot going on otherwise. Numbers of troops in Burma still holding steady around 20,000. Wow, 10. One task force of 10, mostly transports. Another task force. All 3 of these task forces have transports in them, and they're all big. Yeah, that could be changing real soon. We did not get the ordered airstrike on Singapore. It looks like their base is completely repaired, and they have a whole lot of fighters operating, and we haven't done anything about it yet. Mostly caught up. We'll be able to defeat this unit next turn, hopefully move on and deal with some more of these guys. So basically, pretty fluid front lines right now in Malaya. Oh, that reminds me, I wanted to check the op report for whoever may have spotted the Repulse. No positive sightings based on just looking at any of these ports or any of these task forces. Now, we've got a little bit more company here in Kagayan, up to 18,000 troops. That's quite a bit, with 52 guns. That's not a whole lot of infantry, probably. Probably a whole lot of support units. So I suspect we've still got enough to take them. I'll probably just do a probing attack for now, just to confirm what their AV is before I push any harder. We rested our troops at Manila this turn. Or not at Manila, but at Cabanatuan. And, you know, fatigue's still pretty high for these guys. I might give them another day to rest. Yeah, I don't see much need to push too fast, other than I want to kill some of these ships. The less of an opportunity we give them to let them get away, the better. Do we have Manila reconned? No. Okay. So there might still be ships at Manila too, we're just not seeing them at the moment. So, Mini KB and Carrier Division 2 both fully detected. Imagine their ammunition state is doing pretty good. Yeah, these guys are close to fully loaded. Yeah, did not deplete their armament at all. Let's see the number of aircraft they have. The Hiryu took some casualties to their Kates. And a few Vals lost too. I'm not sure why the Hiryu took all the losses and the Soryu seemed to come out with flying colors. Interesting that the carriers aren't being reported in this task force. But we know who they are. We've got 3 enemy subs hanging out here. Yeah, so these guys are basically standing by to be overrun. Oh, good news for us. So I have 4 battleships present between these two task forces, and that's not even counting the bombardment. So probably what's going to happen is I'll send the bombardment task force back to Truck, so they can take over with the Rebel situation. Heck, I'll send the Mini KB with them. They're not really needed here. But Carrier Division 2 is going to finish these guys off. Heck, I might even send the rest of the KB over just to put an exclamation point on that. Yeah, we're only reporting 2 ships in port at Cairns. So whoever was there has been completely devastated. So what I'm actually thinking then is I can send Carrier Division 1 back up the Arafura Sea to help Carrier Division 2 finish off the Enterprise in Lexington, make sure they don't get away. While Carrier Division 3 hits Sydney, because that still needs to happen, especially if they're moving troops there. And I think that might be a little unexpected, too, with his carriers having all my attention, supposedly. Might be a good opportunity to mess with him. I don't know. Something to think about. Or really, I mean, Rabal's so close to the KB as it is. Maybe instead of sending the Mini KB over there with the battleships, I can just send a Carrier Division there right now. Give them some air cover, some close air support to soften up these enemy ground units. Something to think about. Life seems to be getting a little bit harder for the submarines that I've tightened up with. So that's a bit of a concern. And we also saw that we had A submarine damaged. So that was the I-1. And it's not badly damaged. Whatever hit it was small. Maybe not that small. 500-pound bomb. 11 flotation damage is not all that serious. Still gonna have to send him home, though. Maybe not right this moment, but it needs to happen. Alright, so I think that's gonna do it. We'll see you for the setup for the December 26th turn. Thanks for watching.